Hello again, welcome to our weekly look at the forecast for the weekend and into next week. In fact, I think this time the weather's so settled we can go right up to next weekend. How's that for sticking our necks out then? We have high pressure on the scene. We have had some useful rain in the last few days in the southeastern part of England, East Anglia too, up to about a couple of inches, say 50-60 millimetres in a number of places, but that's nowhere near enough to alleviate the drought situation. And the bad news in a way is that there's absolutely no sign of any significant rain whatsoever in the next 10 days or so. That is in the southeastern corner of the country. There will be some rain in the northwest up into Scotland, where in fact they've probably had far too much rain just recently. So if we have a look at the surface pressure pattern, you see that we have high pressure on the scene, as we've had so often just recently. And there's no sign of that high pressure really giving up the ghost, as it were, relinquishing its hold on the United Kingdom weather. In fact, what happens is that the high pressure area ridges northwards and then follows on by drifting northwards itself, so that eventually it's going to sit slap bang on top of the country. So although the north of the country will start unsettled and windy with those southwesterlies bringing in frontal conditions from time to time, it's not going to be long before virtually the whole country settles down and becomes dry, although there'll be a fair amount of cloud around. Again, the far northwest perhaps still getting those Atlantic mild and moist southwesterlies. So on a day-to-day basis, on Friday, looks like starting windy and cloudy with some rain around across Scotland, Northern Ireland and northwest of England. And there will be a weakish front moving south during the day, bringing a little bit of rain southwards through much of England and Wales. But it's going to be very light and patchy, and I think many places will stay dry. Most of the rain probably in the more western parts. Indeed, there could well be some dry intervals and bright intervals in the east. Later on, clearer weather will get into central and northern Scotland, clearer and a little bit colder, so that on Friday night, Saturday morning, could be a touch of frost in those areas. But otherwise, it's going to be a pretty mild time. Later on Friday and into Saturday, the winds will ease. Then on Saturday itself, a little bit of rain here and there, especially in the more western areas. Sunny intervals, though, breaking through the cloud in the east, I think. And don't forget, too, that over the weekend we have the Six Nations Championship taking place. I think for the Saturday matches, that's in Cardiff and Dublin, although they're both going to be fairly cloudy, there shouldn't be anything more than just a spot or two of rain. And indeed it will be mild. In fact, it's going to be mild everywhere during the course of Saturday. And then on Sunday, very little changes really. There could be a little bit of rain here and there, especially in the west and more particularly in western Scotland. But again, most central and eastern parts should be dry, and if you're lucky there'll be some sunshine breaking through as the cloud burns off. For the other Six Nations match, this time in Paris, again it should be fine, dry and quite mild. In fact, a very mild day across the whole of the United Kingdom as well as France. Also taking place over the weekend, we have some other events. We have, for instance, half marathons in both Bath and Blackpool. Ideal weather for both of those, I should think. Fairly dry, not too warm, not too cold. Ideal conditions, not too windy either. And we also have the St Patrick's Day Festival taking place at Birmingham. It's also on Sunday, when again it should be a pleasant day. On Monday, again, it's going to be dry and rather cloudy. Some sunny intervals breaking through, more particularly in eastern areas. On the other hand, a little bit of rain here and there in the west. I think more particularly in northwest Scotland. That's really where most, if not all, of the rain will be. But near to western hills and coasts, there will be some low cloud and some fog too rolling in and lapping on the hilltops. That could, I suppose, produce a little bit of drizzle too, but that's about all. And of course it is going to be a mild or even very mild day. Tuesday, it's more of the same. Wednesday, it's more of the same. In fact, as I say, it looks so settled that we can probably go right the way up to next weekend and say that the weather's going to be similar. In other words, high pressure over the country, keeping it fine and dry just about everywhere. A fair bit of cloud, but the cloud breaking to give some sunny intervals, especially in the east. And everywhere it's going to remain very mild, although towards next weekend it could get just a little bit cooler. But if there is any frost at all in the week ahead, it's only going to be very local and very slight. Well, that's all from me for the time being. I'll be back again this time next week. But for now, have a lovely weekend and goodbye from me.